Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to the webinar hosted by Lexological Club, Manipal University, Jaipur, in collaboration with Directorate of Alumni Relations. Thank you to our guests for taking out time to interact with us, and Sunita ma'am, our faculty coordinator, Amit sir, for guiding and mentoring us throughout various stages. I would like to welcome our panel for the day, Mr. Karthik Srivastava, Ms. Nisha Samsani, and Ms. Mamta Bish. Mr. Karthik Srivastava is doing his internship from Outlook. He is pursuing MBA from Manipal University, Jaipur, and graduated from Manipal University in 2020. Ms. Nisha Santani, an associate advocate at the Chamber of Advocate Mansi Sharma, Delhi, practicing in the field of civil and matrimonial cases. She did graduation from Manipal University in 2020. Ms. Mamta Bisht is a practicing advocate at High Court of Uttarakhand. She worked in field of litigation. She is graduated in 2020 from Manipal University, Jaipur. We are glad to have you as our speakers today. Without any further ado, I would request our guests to commence with this session. Now, I would like Divyani to moderate this event.
Good evening, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I'm sorry. Am I audible? Karthik, sir?
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, my first question to you would be, though Article 15 clearly states that there will be no discrimination based on sex or gender, yet a huge part of the Indian legal system seems to be gender biased. What are your views on that?
Yeah, I will totally agree with the Article 15, but in India, India has always been presented as a clear mosaic. But as per the situation of the India, in India, when we used to see in medieval time, there were various female poets came and they dominated the literature work. But as soon as the various countries came and ruled us, the mentality of our people started deteriorating, and as a result, the women started suffering in our own country, where the women are being worshipped as the goddesses. Now, the people are similarly worshipping the lady as well as the raping lady, murdering the lady, and committing various heinous crimes now. But I will totally have a different view in this point as well, that when the ladies are having the right, that is by our constitution article 14 and by article 15. Article 15 clearly states that there should be no discrimination. But as I will, now I will take you to the past. When you will go to take when we will see the past, that the women were clearly being deteriorated. So our laws started giving the giving benefits to the lady, so that she should not harm, her dignity should not be harmed. But as the time is coming and we are going with the paces we are developing, the ladies are starting taking these things as the advantages, like false allegations of the rape, murder, sexual harassment, etc. So this is the point.
Absolutely, sir. Uh, your point about rapes and allegations leads me to my next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Divyani, if you don't mind, may I interrupt you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to welcome Miss Mamta Bisht. Welcome, Mamta, on this platform. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation on behalf of Lex Logical Club. This is really very proud moment for the School of Law that all the students who are alumni are the panel member of this very important topic that is related to the gender biased law. So thank you so much for coming. And yes, Divyani, now you may proceed.
Welcome, Mamta ma'am. Can you please turn on your camera, Mamta ma'am?
Mamta, please unmute yourself. Unmute. Organizer, I think that you can unmute Mamta. Lex Logical.
Ma'am, wait a second, I see. Yes, ma'am, I will see.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, she can unmute herself as there is no restriction on that.
Okay. I think internet problem is there.
Shall I continue with my next question, ma'am?
Yes, sure, Divya. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. About the rape allegations. Sir, when we talk about the section 375 of the IPC, it clearly states that rape can only be done by a man and it cannot be done by a woman. What are your views on that?
Ma'am, in the year 2018, our Honorable Supreme Court has decriminalized the Section 377 in the case of Navjot Singh Kher. And in this case, that they have clearly stated, the Honorable Supreme Court has clearly stated that constitutional morality should not be harmed on the basis of the morality. So when the question is of the rape, that a man cannot commit a rape, that a woman cannot commit a rape, then on this point, I have to say that if this is the point, then why did the Honorable Supreme Court remove the remove the 377, and why did it decriminalize? So it is clearly stated that the physically a man can rape, but physically a man can rape a woman, but the bodily relations can be also committed by the woman as well. So this is a clear point.
I agree with you, sir, but what about section 375 of the IPC, which uses the words penal and vaginal very clearly?
Ma'am, for that, our Supreme Court has laid various landmark judgment cases, and on that basis, ma'am, the word penal and vaginal is a term which is used for the person, and now the situation is very changing, that the persons are also getting raped. So for as a time we have to amend the section as well 375 apart from the 377, that a rape can be committed with the men as well.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Thank you for that answer. My next question would be, what would you say about the clear ignorance in the title of the POSH Act, sexual harassment of women at workplace?
Ma'am, see, as I have stated earlier, that the women were getting harassed at the workplace, and the situation is very shameful at today also. So for that, it is a two type of question. So it is a type of coin. So a coin has a face, a head, as well as tail. So on this basis, we have to say that woman is a victim, and the person is a criminal. So we have we have to we have to support the woman in this case, not the person, because and sometimes it is also false allegation for gaining the positions as well. This kind of false allegations as well. So it is a type of coin, ma'am.
Divyani, if you don't mind, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. I was asking what are sir's view on the POSH Act, which clearly states that it is an act for women by in its own name, Sexual Harassment for Women at Workplace, 2013.
Okay. So may I interrupt, Divyani?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Mr. Karthik, your views are absolutely right. But I think that nowadays, if you will see the Supreme Court's decision or the various High Court's decision, there is some another point of view of honorable judges. In some cases, like in Calcutta High Court, there is a case in which a woman, obviously she was a victim, but the other side, the the person who was harassing that woman, she was also a woman. So that was a question which was came in Calcutta High Court, and you all would be surprised that Calcutta High Court had give this verdict that act itself says about the victim, and definitely victim should be women. But on other side, it may be men or women. As the concern of section 377 of IPC, we all know that
Yes.
now LGBT is legalized.
Yes, ma'am.
Then we can think that how serious this kind of right would be in the existence of society, although it is a right of each and every human person.
Yes, ma'am.
But on other side, if we will think, if we will see in the society, similarly, most of the crimes nowadays would be happened only because of this LGBT.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is really very interesting case which has been passed by Calcutta High Court. Sexual harassment of women at workplace. This is very true. We can't change the title of the act because act itself says that the act is related to the women.
Yes, ma'am.
But as the previous question of the Devyani
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the Mr. Karthik,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think the correlation of both the question and the answer is this which I have quoted. So this was my submission, Devyani. Yes, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your great input. Sorry, sir, I would
I'm
like
really
to.
sorry to interrupt in between. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vijay ma'am. I'm really sorry I was having some sort of internet issue. And thank you so much for such lovely introduction.
Ma'am, can you please turn on your camera?
It's turned on. I don't know whether like, is there some issue?
Miss
Am
Mamta,
I
can
am
you?
I audible?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
you
you're
are
audible and
audible.
your camera is also on. She's
I am from Tushar's ID.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
So,
Mamta, now you are visible and audible as well. So welcome.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much, ma'am.
see you. Nice to see you, beta. God bless you. Yes.
Thank you so
Over
much,
to
ma'am.
you, Devyani.
thank you, ma'am. So, Mamta, ma'am, my question to you would be the first question I asked to sir. Article 15 clearly states that there should be no gender discrimination, yet there is a clear gender discrimination, gender biasness in the law, in the Indian legal system. So, what are your views on that?
Divyani, let's start with the history. And when we go to the history, let's talk about the gender. The term used is term you used right now is gender biasness, and even the topic we have is of the gender biasness. But let me rephrase it a bit different. As I want to say, when we started in 1947 after the independence, and in 1950 when our constitution came into effect, अगर हम पीछे जाके देखें तो we need to realize that we always stayed in the patriarchal society. Agree or not? We women have been always been suppressed by the society, and when in 1950 the law like the constitution incorporated by the country, and lately when different laws was incorporated, the makers of the constitution plus the other people as in the legislation, जो लोग हमारा लॉ बना रहे थे, जो इन सब चीजों को सोसाइटी को देख करके आगे पॉलिसीज बना रहे थे, उन्हें ये चीज दिमाग में रखनी थी दैट we have been facing the societal pressure, the patriarchy from long time, and that too women have been suppressed from the longest of the time. So जब ये देखा गया that women has been suppressed and opportunity should be given to them, then laws will be made according to the society in need. And when the society in need required that women should be protected much more than men, then laws were made like that only. And to be very honest, in my opinion, that was not at all any kind of inequality. How it can be an inequality? Article 15, when we go to Article 14 of the Constitution, that is right to equality. And when you read right to equality, that doesn't say like should be treated like, unlike should be treated unlike. You must have read that concept. So at that point of time, women were in need of protection. And still women are in need of protection in some areas. So accordingly, laws were made in that regard, and we have seen a different types of laws which are specially protecting women because of the scenario going on in the society, and different types of laws that are giving extra opportunity, you can say, a upper hand, so that women can be uplifted. Still, in the rural areas, women are facing a lot of issues which are not known to the world. We see that we are in 21st centuries where women are in very good position, and there's no doubt on this point that we are not equal to the men, and we are running side by side to the men. जब हम हर जगह कंधे पे कंधा मिला के चल रहे हैं, हम लोगों को आज भी ये रियलिटी नहीं भूलनी चाहिए कि आज भी women सफर हो रही हैं, और उस सफरिंग को कम करने के लिए there have been laws that are made by the legislature. क्योंकि एक बहुत सिंपल से एग्जांपल देना चाहूंगी, जब विजय मैम के साथ हम लोगों ने लीगल एड स्टार्ट किया था, तब हमारे पास ऐसे वुमेन के केसेस आए थे which was so shocking that आज की जनरेशन में भी ये चीज हो रही है. So I don't think so there is any kind of inequality where the reservation should women deserve the reservation, then reservation should be given to them. That's the whole point I want to make here. I hope that this answer suffices to whatever you were asking.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful answer. Nishi, ma'am, can you please turn on your camera?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, Nishi. Welcome.
How are you, ma'am?
Welcome, Nishi, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I am fine. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for giving your consent.
No, ma'am, it's a pleasure that we got a chance to at least interact with our juniors and probably share our views on whatever, on the topic that is such an important topic these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So over to you, Devyani.
Thank you, ma'am. So far we've established with Mamta ma'am's answer that the law is beneficiary towards women.
Yeah.
Yet we see that the Maintenance Act, Hindu Maintenance Act, clearly shows women as a bane, I apologize, on the family by making the age of maintenance till marriage. And till 2005, women didn't even have the right to parental property. What are your views on that?
Right. Thank you so much, Devyani. So I think firstly, I would just like to talk about what my colleague Mamta was talking about. I totally agree that when women-centric laws came, it was in the need of the hour that women laws had to be made, because there were so many atrocities being committed against the women. As we live in the patriarchal society, obviously we needed to uplift the women, to bring them at a position where they can at least try to stand equally. But what I feel is that now times have changed. I'm not saying that the women's are not going through atrocities or the women's are at a very better position, but they are at a little better footing than they were. There is more knowledge. There is more, what do you say? There's more knowledge and there's more, things have become more easy now. Now we can access things. So what I want to say is, now that after the Navteej Singh Johar judgment came in 2018, there are little more, like now it's more than men and women. It's trans men, it's binary people. There are a lot of more genders and a lot more identities that have come into the picture. And there are acts and atrocities being committed against them as well, which I feel should be given an equal footing. Now we have we've decriminalized consensual carnal intercourse, but we failed to give them equal rights. Like supposingly, if a trans man comes and says under 375 or probably 354 that I was raped, I was sexually harassed, he or she has no, he or she has no place to approach. He or she has no laws or no sections where he can approach the court, because our laws are still women centric. We still recognize rape as just which can be done to women, first of all. And then I think from my personal experience, like I'm working with a chamber where matrimonial laws are being dealt with at a great stage. So I can see that there is, like we represent a lot of women clients, and I can see that men are pushed to such an extent sometimes to give maintenance, even when the woman is, capable of earning, or the woman is capable of maintaining herself. Still we push it because we show that there is so much of, atrocity, or there is so much of pain that the women is going through, whereas it's not true all the time. I am saying it would be true, but there should be a little a little attention paid to what the men are going through. And I feel the Delhi High Court in the recent cases has even started doing so. A lot of matrimonial cases, like maintenance cases, and a lot of domestic violence cases are now going against the women. The judgments are not coming in favor of them, because there's a new trend that has come up, that we are kind of misusing the rights, or misusing the laws that are in our favor. So I feel that laws should be made according to the need. Now there is a need to uplift the men and the other genders also that are present in the society, which I feel there is a lack.
Miss Nishi, may I add something?
Yeah, ma'am, definitely.
Yes, thank you so much. One very important information which I would like to share with you all, that in 2015, UGC, means University Grant Commission, has enforced a very important regulation which is related to the POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. And you all would be surprised that in this regulation, the victim includes two particular things, that is victim may be employee or students, right? And with this student, the interpretation of student is male, female, and third gender. See the what is the vision of University Grant Commission? Now all the persons, whether male, female, or third gender, everyone is included in POSH as per the regulation of University Grant Commission. So Nishi, you are very well said that whosoever is victim, it is really very important to see whosoever is victim, whosoever is complainant, law should be with them. If there
Exactly.
is men, if there is women, or maybe the third gender, because if third gender is also recognized by the law, then why should not we give them the proper protection and the mechanism to maintain their rights? So your answer is very well relevant, and in Delhi University, this is again very important. In Delhi University, 1/3 gender who was getting harassed by his own classmate, he had filed a complaint in Posh Committee, and when Delhi University's Posh Committee didn't take up this complaint, then this case was filed in Delhi High Court. So Delhi High Court has given this judgment. Yes, third gender is also equally treated like a women or men. So this was the important information. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Over to you,
ma'am, for
Divya.
this information.
Thank you, ma'am. So my next question to all the panelists is, what do you think about this huge pay gap that exists between women and men?
We need to moderate, like we can start.
Yeah.
Nishi ma'am, can you start?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Obviously this is a very pertinent, this is a very pertinent question, because all of us know that there's a huge pay gap in the male and the female salaries, and I think I feel why it is so, because kind of we have also accepted it. We accept that there is, like we say that now I think, yeah, okay. So I think I'll start with the major difference that male and female in their work life that they go through is that women take maternity leave. Now the concept of paternity leave has also come up, right? So we used to say that because women take maternity leave, they get married, they lose touch of the work. When they get pregnant, they take maternity leave, they lose touch because they take leave because to take care of the child. Then they get engrossed in the child, and so many of them just do not continue work, or they're not able to pay attention or give their time to the profession or work or whatever, in whatever field they are. But now times are changing. Now women and men, they've been able to manage the time given to the child. Now even fathers are taking paternity leave so that they can divide among themselves the time that should be given to the children and how to give time to their profession and their career as well. Now I think there is time. Now it's the time to raise our voices, and I think a lot of people have raised their voices again against the pay difference of the genders. But I feel there is like a huge, what I would say, there's a huge it's like, I'm not finding the word. I think it's a long journey right now. I don't think that anytime soon, like in the coming decade, we would be able to achieve that equality in the pay scale. But there should definitely be some or the other voices, or probably PILs or something like that, which should bring the attention of the legislative or the employers to equalize the pay scales, and to equalize that we are at an equal footing, we take equal education, we are equally hardworking, and we give equal time as our male peers do. So I feel that it's a long journey, but let's see how it goes.
Absolutely, ma'am. Karthik sir, what would you say about this?
See, the pay gap is already there in our society, and the woman is already being suffered from the time to time. And in this field also, woman is suffering. The people, there is a vague mentality, or we can say a mentality of the person. They said they think that the women are less capable as compared to the men, but this is a vague thing. women are more capable than the men. They run a family, they run a company, they run various things at the same time. But a man runs only a home. That man runs only a company or earns money. So women is getting a less paid in various places at this, we can say that let's take the example of a college which is nearby my home. The same professor is male professor is getting around 75,000 per month, and the same time the same capable female professor is getting around 45,000. Why? Is she it's because of her gender? No, it's because of the mentality of the people. They consider that the women take leaves, take maternity leaves, take all the leaves and all. So they lack the work. And at the same time when they take the leave, and at the same time a man can do more better than her at the same time without taking any leave, and the companies get more profit at the same time. So why to pay a woman who is taking leave? So they pay a more money to men. So but these things should be changed. A few days back, I was going through an article. It was, have you heard a term called Apple Pay and Apple Card? Apple Card is a card with which is provided by the Apple Inc. for cashless transactions. And at the same time, the one woman complained that the men are getting more interest on the transactions as compared to the women. Women are getting around 3.15% on the transactions, and the men are getting around 6%. Why this discrimination? The matter was held that, and the thing is that they are still going on the they're still going on the discussions with the companies, and there's all technical fault. But see, not in our country, in other countries as well, they consider the woman as a lower part of the society. Why this thing should be changed? Why this thing should be changed? This thing should be changed because when in our country, our finance minister is a female, she is leading one of the largest economies in the country, and she is doing the economics. She is leading the defense minister at the same time. Defense minister of the India is one of the biggest things which cannot be held by the lame minded. So this thing should be changed. For this, we can do a PIL thing. We can file a PIL in the court. That why this thing should be happening. Then we can protest on the ground, not on the that online petitions and all that. Online petitions are weak. So from as we are going from time to time, these things should be changed if we have to really develop in the countries.
Thank you, Karan.
Devyani,
Ye-
can I say
Yes,
my
sir. Yes,
on
sir.
this? Yes. There has been a lot of debate in Supreme Court as well because recently one of the judges, she was the ladyship, she retired from Supreme Court, and now we only have one Supreme Court lady judge. And there's a big question on the Supreme Court as well, that when there will be the day when we have the first woman Chief Justice of India. So this is not everywhere. If you are filing a PIL in Supreme Court is not able to answer this question right now. The gender inequality which is caused in Supreme Court itself. It's a big question on its appointment system, collegium system, which has prevailed for a time period where it has been dominated by men only. So it's everywhere in the system, and change has to be there. And now people are questioning these policies, that why these policies are not changing, why women are not being promoted in Supreme Court as well.
Thank
I
you,
would
sir.
like to throw light on that, Divyani, whatever the sir said right now. I was
Yes,
about
ma'am.
to throw light on that point. We Let's continue with your question first. You talked about pay scale. So yes, we suffered a lot, and we are still suffering on the point of the pay scale. But as my two other colleagues and very well said regarding the pay scale, I would like to deviate from the pay scale to the position. And I would like to throw light on the scenario which is going on uh, in this 21st century as of now. Is whenever I personally, or I think this thing Nishi must have also felt, because when we go to trial courts, when we go to the high court, and still because she's practicing in Delhi, situation is way better. But when I go to Rajasthan High Court, and because I was there in Rajasthan for a year, and then I shifted to Nainital. When I go to Nainital High Court, there's a 80% of population is male. Still, in the advocate scenario, you see 80% of the population is male. And when you go to the judges panel, when you see you have seen the bar. Now you see the bench. When you see the bench, all the 7 judges in Nainital High Court, basically Uttarakhand High Court, are males. I think there is no female justice in the Rajasthan High Court as well. So this scenario is also going on. You see, we still can't afford to have a female Chief Justice of India. So when now coming up to the 2020 and 2021 judgments of the Supreme Court. In 2020, I have the humble pleasure when I was interning with Aishwarya Bhati ma'am, senior advocate Aishwarya Bhati ma'am, we researched on this scenario, and lately that end up being a landmark case of Babita Punia versus Union of India, where the Supreme Court talked about the Permanent Commission of Women in India, in Indian Army. So now see, from late 90s, women has been induced to the Indian Army, but see the position or see the suffering they have been facing. On paper, everything's look pretty decent. But on practicality, things are way far different, and we have to reach a way long, like we have to fight a way long battle, and we have to reach a way far position what we are facing. And when Supreme Court in the case of Babita Punia is questioning Indian Army regarding not providing the equal opportunity to the women, then on that point, I really think that we, for example, आप बाहर देख रहे हैं ना, आप अंदर आके भी तो देखिए, आप अपने सिस्टम को देखिए. When you see the judicial system, what about the women who are in judiciary? How many female chief justices we have? No. So in this scenario, we have to come up with a revolution in judiciary as well. And with that, I would like to make a point, and I would like to suggest the girls out there. It's pretty hard. Me and Nishi, we know that when we entered into litigation, how tough it is for us. I really want to encourage girls to go for litigation. Yeah, I know corporate will give you a good scenario where you will be protected, but fight the battle. You are the lawyers, and you have to start on the ground. And you will on words we can say a lot of things, but this scenario will change only when you come up to the ground. So, and on the point of gender equality, those who are attending this session, I would like to suggest you guys to read the judgment of Babita Punia versus Union of India. Why I would like to, why I want you guys to read that judgment? Because in that judgment, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has blatantly talk about the gender inequality and the mindset of people which are going on in the society and how we need to develop. You see, when in 1950s, the cases started, after the constitution get enacted, the cases started. I was reading a case, the cases were like that in the central government, when in the position where women are in good position in the central government, they need to ask for their seniors to get married. The permission should be there. There's a case, I'm really sorry, I forgot the name of the case. In 1950s cases, it is the case of this central government, and in 1970s we have seen this case of air hostess, when after a certain age of time, when they're getting married and they're giving birth to a child, they were not considered to appropriate for that job.
Air Asia versus
Nakesh. That are responsibilities.
Yes.
And there's see, on scenario, on practicality, on mentality, there's a huge gap our society is facing. Now I talked on the part of the women. Now come up to the men part. I have seen people on my male front also facing sexual harassment at bars on the public places. They are facing sexual harassment at their workplace, but no one talking about that, because we have sexual harassment at workplace for women. So we need to think about that part also. And with the 377 everything, let's come up to the gender neutrality, and let's come up to the question of the rape being the gender neutral topic. Why is still not there? There have been a long history for that as well. And we need to consider history plus with the current scenario. as D.Y. Chandrachud recently in the case of Lieutenant Colonel Nitisha, I guess. Yeah, Nitisha and others, which is basically regarding the permanent commission only. Basically, ACR evaluation in Indian Army. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud blatantly and very thoroughly said this point, and we need guts to say that the society rules and regulation are made by men for themselves. You read that point as well. And coming up to the scenario in the current what we are facing, I would like to suggest everyone to go to the recent judgment of Joseph Shine and Babita Punia, and then Lieutenant Colonel Nitisha. We are facing, like, we are in a phase of revolution currently, and we are facing a revolution on the gender neutrality part. And I have a huge respect to Justice D.Y. Chandrachud for coming up with such great amount of guts to have to talk about all these topics in thorough in his judgment. So I would like everyone to read this judgment, read those judgment, and then conclude everything on what we need in the society. And on the end, I really want to say that we both, men and women, are suffering on the loss part, and we need to think more wisely while making the legislation. Our legislators basically need to think on the both front when making the legislation, because scenarios are different. Scenarios are changing. We can't say that men are always the culprit. No, women are also the culprits. So think on the perspective of taking men and women as human and human nature, and then judging that everything. And plus, I really want women chief justices to be in there in the board, to be there in the bench. For that, we have to come up. For that, we, or as a law student also, we need to take the charge. That's what I want to conclude.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, my follow-up question to that would be, how much power do you think the judicial system has over it? Because we've seen in the Sabrimala case that the judiciary gave a judgment, but still no change was seen.
That's what Justice D.Y. Chandrachud talked in the Babita Punia case. And that's what happened with Babita Punia, and then coming up to Lieutenant Colonel Nitisha's case. I'll tell you, in Babita Punia, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud or the Supreme Court, in altogether, they talked basically that women should be granted permanent commission in Indian Army. And that was already held in 2010 Delhi High Court's judgment. They were not basically, the proceeding was stayed, and then in 2020, when this case came up and the judiciary decided this case, they blatantly said this thing that permanent commission should be given to the women. But after even Supreme Court judgment, those women who filed that petition were still not given permanent commission. No, it's not because army didn't want to give. No, not basically criticizing army. It's the evaluation process, it's the societal evaluation process. So in Lieutenant Colonel Nitisha, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud blatantly said that the evaluation process which you guys have been incorporated, it's for basically men. It's male centric. And that's what happening in the society. Even after judgment, the mentality and the system going on need to change. And for that, on ground level, we have to change. As a person, we have to change. I really want to say that on this point that, see, हर बार law बनाने से ही सब कुछ नहीं होगा. Law is the mirror of the society. You got my point? So when law is the mirror of the society, society need to change according to the laws, and laws should be changed according to society. So when laws are changing according to the society, society need to work upon the mentality. And society is working, but on the urban part, we need to focus on the rural part. Still, the juveniles don't know about the bad touches. The girls in the smaller places are not given the equal opportunities. It's all happening because society need to develop. We as women, when we were in college, on a very blunt case, हमें ये बोला जाता है. Yes, sir.
Mamta, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to interrupt.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
you are very well said about the society and the mentality of the society and urban and rural background. How much a difference actually between these urban and rural areas. But my only worry is who will take this responsibility, Mamta? Who will take this
I
responsibility? I know most of the law students, most of the law background people are not interested to go in rural areas. Even they don't want to go in judiciary right now. I can give you a number of examples now. Law people are not interested to go in the rural areas. See, I am very much aware about this aspect, that we people can do this, we can do the miracles, but the only worry is who will take the responsibility. Who? So I think that all of you guys, your discussions are very good, your points are really very very appreciable, but the thing is you have to conduct some awareness sessions. You can make aware the rural people that how bad touch, good touch, sexual harassment, and one thing which is you very well pointed out, that most of the rape cases has been reported only in rural areas. And the worst part is most of the accused are the relatives, very close relatives of the victim. So I think this is a very important point on which we had to take cognizance being a law student. And Mamta, Nishi, and Karthik, really, I must appreciate you all as being a part of Legal Aid Clinic in Manipal School of Law. And now most of the law students are working upon this. And I am really very happy. At least I can give this answer. Yes, my students of School of Law are taking the responsibility. I have the answer. I have this answer. So this is really a very nice discussion, a very interesting interaction. I guess all the students who are there in this meeting, if they want to ask something, Devyani, is it permitted for the students, or you will
Ma'am,
open
I
to?
want to say something. Can I?
Yes, 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 yes. Welcome.
Yeah. So I totally agree with what Mamta said. Uh, I just want to say that, I think as humans, or probably as Indians, we have a tendency to hype up things to a till a certain time. What we do is, आज कोई judgment आ गया, या आज कोई hearing चल रही है, आज कोई topic बहुत ही hyped up है, we will talk about it, we will post about it, we will do everything. But as soon as we achieve that thing, we stop taking follow up. We do not see things through till the end. What we do is, we were very very much interested when the 370 article 370 thing came. We were very interested when the GNU thing came. We were all posting it online. We were very interested when that during the lockdown there was this rape case that happened in, I think, Telangana. Jinka, there was an encounter and something
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
We But what we do is, we talk about it till the time it is in the news. The moment things go off news, it goes off our minds also. We don't pay attention to what is happening later on. We are right now also feel that we are discussing, we're debating about it, we're raising such good points. But what happens after this discussion? We will probably say, yeah, it was a good discussion, it was a good seminar, webinar, and we will just keep it to ourselves. We will not do anything about it. There have been so many laws, there have been so many judgments, such good judgments that have come up, which have highlighted, females, gender biasness, which have even touched upon males being sexually harassed. But then there is no follow up. People raise their voice and then people suppress them. One person raises their voice, there are 10 people to suppress it. And what we do is, we stand with that one person for a few days. till the time it's the topic of the hour. The moment we get another topic, we just leave that topic and we're talking about something else. So how will change happen if we keep shifting our attention to different things? If we want things to change, we will have to constantly walk with it. We will have to, you can't achieve a, you can't achieve same pay scale, you can't achieve same gender equality, you can't achieve things which you want if you don't want to see it through till the end. What we have a habit of is following people. When it's heated, everybody's talking about it. When it's not a heated topic, nobody talks about it, or people will talk in small groups. There is no constant follow up. What I think is, for anything to succeed or anything to come into power, we need to be very constant.
Yeah. Plus, I
Constant.
Yeah, plus
Yeah.
I need to add on to this only that, see, we all are law student. As a law student, we are basically the warriors, or you can say that the charger of the society. You need to take the charge. When you talk about law being biased, when you talk about someone being unbiased or whatever terminology, whatever you want to take, but for that you need to take the charge. Girls who say that females are not there in the bench or in the bar, come up and go for litigation, come up and go for judiciary, come to the ground level and then talk and then work. This is what I want to suggest. And very well said by Nishi, that what in the current online scenario, what's going on, that we post on for 2 days, 3 days, whenever the scenario is going on in the society, in the Instagram, in our social media handles, Snapchat, LinkedIn, we will post 1,000 things. We'll talk on length about that topic, and lately then whatever on the practicality ground we forget. Why? That's the main question. If you feel about something in a certain way, then go about it and work for it. People, what Vijay ma'am said, that who will take up the charge? We need to take up the charge. When we were in Manipal, we take up the charge for the Bagru. We set up the legal aid camp, as suggested by Vijay ma'am. All suggestions were through ma'am, and we incorporated, and things worked. If we are able to give justice to at least one of the person, and we are able to make at least one person aware, then we are at success. And that's what I want every student out there, every junior of ours, to work upon. See, I am not saying corporate is bad or any other profession is bad. Everything is good. But even if when you are in corporate, go for corporate social responsibility. CSR is there. When you come up to the field, take the charge of changing the society. And for that, you have to come to the position. For that, you have to work. And for that, we need to take the charge. We'll be always open for conducting seminars, we'll be open for conducting awareness campaign to the different rural areas, but we need your support. We need the support of our juniors. We are in field and we are ready to do that. Divyani, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
ma'am.
so much, Mamta. Thank you, Nishi. Thank you, Karthik.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Your words of wisdom are truly appreciable. Thank you. Yes, over to
Thank
you, Devyani.
Ma'am, I would like to say that
Thank you, ma'am.
recently I've
Yes,
seen this trend in Rajasthan judiciary, like in the 2019
yes,
batch, where there were RJS exams. Most of the candidates who have been selected and now they are under the training is like 70% of women. So this is a good change we are seeing in the society. Like most of the women are going for lower court judiciary, and they are able to secure their position and they are ready to work for the rural people as well. So it's a good thing to see,
yes,
a good trend and
yes,
change.
yes. Yes, Mr. Prapreet, thank you. And I would like to add one thing more, that we should treat the persons just like a man, just like a human, not man, just like a human. Because this human word is indicated both the genders, whether male or
Exactly.
female. If the female is capable enough, we should give the appropriate position. If the male is capable enough, definitely we should treat equally. See, the basic or the thumb rule of Article 14 is like should be treated as a like.
Exactly.
But I think कि हम सब भूल गए हैं. What is the meaning of like should be treated as a like? हम इस चीज को भूल के पता नहीं हम कहाँ चले गए. Anyways, अब मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि जो आप जैसे यंग माइंड्स, इग्नाइटेड माइंड्स जो इतनी डिस्कशंस कर रहे हैं, इस थ्योरी और इस प्रिंसिपल को शायद चेंज कर पाएंगे. एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी. आई एम ऑलवेज विथ यू ऑल. अगर
Thank you so
कहीं
much,
कोई
ma'am.
मेरी जरूरत होती है, कहीं कुछ हम मिलके कुछ कर सकते हैं, this would be really great for us. So thank you so much, Prithvi. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
so much, ma'am.
Devyani.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This leads me to the last question for the panelists. As the future lawmakers, judges, and lawyers, what are gender neutral laws and how do we pave way for them? Karthik sir, please will you start?
Can you please repeat the question once again?
As lawmakers, lawyers, and law interpreters, judges, what are gender neutral laws and how do we pave ways for them?
See, as a future lawyer, judges, and law interpreters, we need the reforms which should change the current scenario, as such as gender bias laws and pay scale issues and various other issues which are being faced by the women at the current scenario. So for that, we need to amend certain laws which are current in force. And for that amendments, we need a committee which should be formed by the legal experts who are open-minded, not a one-sided minded. Second thing, for that, we must take the opinion of the women that how can we remove the barriers and what are the issues you actually feel, and not on ambiguous grounds. Third thing, we must educate our girls and our boys as well of the scenario that this is right and this is wrong. Fourth, we must bring certain handles and certain changes in the legislature to motivate the women to report their issues directly without any hesitation. So if we bring and implement these things in the society, then the women can be free and there will be no gender biases in the society and India will be once again great to live. That's it.
Nishiman, would you like to add on to this?
Yeah. So I think what I feel is that we don't need gender. Obviously, we need gender neutral laws, but what I feel is more than gender neutral laws, we need laws which are there for humans. Whatever we need, laws for humans, not for genders. Right? If we feel that there is a pay scale difference, men's are getting more pay, men's are getting a pay higher than the women, then we need to pursue that. If we feel that women's are being sexually harassed or women's are being exploited or men's are being exploited, we need to come up with laws which safeguard men as well. And we need to keep in mind the third gender, that is a very good strata of society. Everybody talks about men and women, but nobody talks about the third gender. Now we need to recognize them. We need to talk about their pay scale as well. We need to talk about their protection as well. We need to talk about their fundamental rights as well. There has to be a laws which can protect all the humans in all spheres. We can't say that we need laws to protect the women. No. We need laws to protect humans. Humans at all fronts, whether it be trans, whether it be bisexuals, whether it be binary, whether it be males, females, all sorts of humans, all sorts of sexualities, identities. There should be laws for all of them at equal footing to approach the courts, to be able to say and to be able to, put out their points and fight out their misery. Nobody talks about the trans and the eunuchs not getting equal pay. We talk about males being paid higher than the women's, but nobody talks about the third gender. They are at a very lower footing than us. So we need committees to focus on laws, and we need to see that which laws are biased towards which gender and kind of neutralize them. Neutralize all kind of laws and probably add laws relating to the third gender. Because I'll just share my experience with you. So I had interned with NAS Foundation, and I think all of us know that NAS Foundation is the organization which started fighting for the third gender in the first place, for prostitutes, for eunuchs, for trans people. They even have a clinic for HIV/AIDS people, for the HIV/AIDS kids. So, and I was interning with them just before the Navteej Singh Johar judgment came. And what happens is they have the staff, all of their staff is LGBTQ community. They don't have males or females as their employees. They only have LGBTQ community people. You go to them and you try to listen to what they faced. It's insane. I literally had tears in my eyes hearing their stories for a month. I'd met so many people. I'd interacted with so many people who were on the commission. But nobody talks about them. Our questions are majorly that are boys being treated equally, are women's being treated equally, but nobody talks about them, which makes me feel really bad. So what I would like to say that two things, that we need laws to equalize humans. We need laws for all the humans that are existing on this planet or probably in India right now, because other countries are at a far better footing than us. We need laws which give equal rights and protection to all the genders and identities and sexualities. And secondly, we need to be consistent with our efforts. We need to show consistency. We need to follow up. We need to be very particular about our thoughts. We need to be very sure what we want, and we have to follow it. It can't be a 10-day thing. It can't be a 1-month thing. Even if it takes a decade, we still have to be consistent. Consistency is the only key to achieve what we want. I think those are my only 2 points. Thank you.
Yes, Nishi ma'am. But ma'am, how does that happen when the legislation is not even able to define what a transgender person is under the Transgender Person Protection of Right Act 2019?
We need to push that. Do people raise, that's what I'm saying, that do people raise voice that something is wrong? We will see that there is so what we do is, if there is a good thing, we will talk about it for a few days, then shush. If there's a bad thing, we will read it and shush. Who talks about it? If we, being the lawyers and judges, if we don't try and raise our voices against what the legislatures have, drafted, or what the legislatures have come up with, who is going to do that? If we don't do it, that's what I'm saying, that there has to be consistency. If things come, we are happy, okay. So there has to be milestone journeys, like we achieved one milestone, like we got them recognition, we got them laws. But what about that? Who will see the implementation? Who will see that these are the problems and these are the things that need to be amended? We need to follow up. We should be, I think we have the right to celebrate each milestone, but then we need to move forward and achieve more. No, there are more things to achieve. We can't stop. We can't say that, yeah, we got you recognition, now we're happy and you be also happy. We can't say that we got you a law or an act, now be happy. No, we have to see if it's working or not, or if there are any problems, then raise voice, because we know that the third gender, they're not that educated. I'm not saying, some of them are still trying to. I'm very happy if I see a third gender person working somewhere. I am very happy if I see that. But how many places do that? How many organizations or how many offices or how many, places even recognize them? How many transgender people do you see in schools and colleges? So because they can't speak for themselves, I know that some of them can. That is why they've had a long journey. They've got themselves recognition. They've got themselves law. But then who is gonna follow it up? They need to be supported. We need to support them and tell them that, okay, this is not right. You feel you're not getting as per the law, or you think that this law is wrong. We need to stand with them. We don't. We are majorly talking about men and women. We are mostly debating about men and women and their inequality. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the third gender. And third gender comprises of so many. So I feel that we are including myself, I feel we are the ones at fault.
I absolutely agree with you, ma'am. Mamta ma'am, would you like to add on to the question? How do we pave space for a more humanitarian law?
Whatever the other panelists said, I totally agree to it. And I think there's nothing more I need to say on the point that we need to make laws for humans now. It's a high time that we need to make laws for humans, not thinking about the gender part. But at the same time, if we go to the Article 14, when this like should be treated like, unlike should be treated unlike, this concept emerged, that's because there was a long history. And why I emphasize on history always, because see, always our actions are somewhere relating to what happened to us or the person or to the society in the past. So now I think that the society is going on a very good pace. We are talking about gender equality. We are coming up with 377. We are talking now. We have started talking about the third gender as well. But talk will not give you the results. If we'll keep on talking, we'll be the basically prisoners of the past, and will not able to be the pilgrims of the future. And we have to be the pilgrims of the future. And for that, we have to work. And again, I'll need to emphasize on that point, that for that, law student has to come up. The one point which I need to highlight here is, in the recent judgment, when you will see the transition, Supreme Court judges have quoted the article of different learned people, different law students as well. When you go to the LinkedIn, you'll see that my article is getting quoted in this judgment. Why? Because they have researched well on that topic, that judges and the bench is reading those articles and considering those points. So the persuasion is going on. For that, what we can do, we can also write about it. We can also work upon it, and we need to take charge of it. Talking will not suffice anything. We need to take charge of it as a law student, as lawyers and advocates, and as judges. This is what I want to submit, because we are the futures and we will be making laws. If we someone gonna be in politics, maybe they're gonna be the part of the legislation. Someone gonna be cracking the UPSC and being the IS, they're gonna be the part of the executive. Maybe we are right now, we are part of the bar, and tomorrow, if by God grace, if anyone elevated to the bench, we will be the part of the bench. And for that, we have to consider. I was way more happy when Justice Hema Kohli became the Chief Justice of Telangana High Court, because we feel empowered. And it was not easy for her also. And for that, we have to stick by it. Girls, if you are facing a problem in litigation, don't leave it like that. Work for it and go for it. If you want to be in judiciary, work for it and go for it. When you're gonna be at position, then only you can change the society. This is what I think as of now. Be in the position and change the society. Over to you, Devyani.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful answer. Now I would open the floor for audience questions.
I don't think so. They have questions.
There is one question in the chat box. I'll read it for you. But research and statistics say that wage gap isn't a result of discrimination, but due to life choices which men and women individually make. What is your opinion about that?
Maybe. Partially yes, partially no, but we have see, statistics are different for different scenarios. There are different organizations coming up with different sort of surveys. But when we talk on the field, when we talk to the women's, there have been pay scale. Don't go far away. Come up to the Bollywood only. There have been female actresses who talked about this thing very blatantly. Where Katrina said Shah Rukh got way more paid to than me, and still women-centric films are less. Why? Because see, this is very blunt on the face of the society. When you are in government jobs, yes, government is taking care of all these things. When you go to the private sector, still we need to work up a lot, and you can't chase for the government jobs only. Society is all mixed. So for that, you need to change, and don't go upon the surveys every time. Go to the field and go see the things, and then decide and then work upon it.
Karthik sir, would you like to add up on this?
See, as going with the question states that the wage gap isn't a result of the discrimination. Where's the question?
And sorry to interrupt in between, but there's one more thing I want to add. When Karthik repeated the question, then I realized it. The question was asked regarding the lifestyle choices. For that, I want to say to the women out there, to the people out there, basically, it's life choices never decide your pay scale. If I want to be, if I am a lawyer, then I should be treated as a lawyer, not as a woman. There have been many female comedians who talked about this thing, that have the word female comedian. Why female comedian? Why female lawyers? No, we are lawyers, we are comedians, we are artists, or we are of particular field. There should not be men and women. That we need to see. And life choices is not about that we are sitting at home, we are taking the responsibility of the home, but at the same time we are working. And when we are working, we should be paid equally. And for that matter, again, the concept of like should be treated like, unlike should be treated unlike. When a woman is working and taking the maternity leave, then that should be considered equally. It's not about the life choices. It's not the life choice she want to give birth to a baby, and then you deduct the amount of from the her payment. That's not the reason. For that, you need to consider every scenario, every possibility, every societal thing, and come up with different sort of thing. Over to you, Karthik.
As the question states that the choice of the woman makes a pay scale differentiation. The point is here that the woman or the person or you can say the male, to be very precise, make their own choices. See, I am doing MBA after law, so one of my colleague from the MBA batch goes and become the CEO of a company. So when I will go to her office, so I will say to a PA, can you please pass on this file to a female CEO or something else? No, the choice of the person is of the mindset of the person, because they discriminate the person on their gender. The gender discrimination is the only reason why the laws are being biased in our society. When this biases will not be there in our society, there will not be a pay scale discrimination. Now, suppose one of our person becomes a good reputed person of our society, and he chooses to do something else and else. Now we are not the person to choose that person's character or their pay scale on his or her gender scale. Now this coming to a question, Now you are stating that but research and statistics say that wage gap isn't a result of discrimination, but due to the life choices which men and women individually make. What is your opinion about that? So question is that on the basis of statistics, statistics are the basis of the calculations on the available data, and available data is clearly showing that the women are being discriminated on our society, because as I stated earlier, when I am doing a business and another company is doing business, and when I hire women as my employee, and when the woman is taking more leaves as compared to the men, and I am facing the scarcity of the work at my workplace. So who will I hire, male or female? I will hire male. Why? Because I will get a more work done at a good pace than as compared to women. But this is the mentality of our society. When the women are being when the women are getting when the women are getting discriminated at the workplace, uh, this is a when the women are getting when the women get discriminated at a workplace. So this is the basic mentality of the person, and when the mentality comes in between, there is a biasness in the law. That is why to protect the women, there is a gender biasness in the law.
Mamta ma'am, would you like to add on?
No, I think whatever he said, I agree to it partially, maybe on not every point, but yeah.
Navendu, you can ask your question. I'll read now. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you say it.
Okay, so just I want to ask, ma'am, when you say about Bollywood, you compare like Katrina was paid less than Shah Rukh Khan.
That
So
was, yeah, just an example. Yeah.
just an example, but we all know that this example, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but this example wasn't relevant because we all know that what position Shah Rukh Khan stand and at what position Katrina Kaif has stand. So though this is. And second, ma'am, if we talk about Bollywood only, in Razi, you can see the payment of Vicky Kaushal as well as Alia Bhatt. Bhatt was paid maybe twice than Vicky Kaushal. So it wasn't gender discrimination on that. Secondly, if a female is more qualified, if a male and female apply for a job and a female is more qualified, obviously at that time of a point of time, office or a building don't see that they'll see a man or woman. They will see because they will see obviously think about मतलब अपनी कंपनी को बढ़ाने का ही सोचेंगे कि है ना हमारी कंपनी को किससे फायदा होगा, तो वो जेंडर पे नहीं सोचेंगे कि इफ अ फीमेल इज मोर क्वालिफाइड देन ऑब्वियसली दे विल अपॉइंट और हायर एट द प्राइस दे डिजर्व. सो इसमें कोई पेमेंट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होता.
नहीं, I agree to your point, but just where I want to differ is whatever you said is totally fine, totally agree with it. Firstly, you started with Shah Rukh Khan Katrina Kaif example. That was just an example where like I just wanted to, by that example, I just wanted to say that there have been women very vocal about this thing that they were not paid equally to their male counterpart. Same come up to the, it was very good initiative, or not even initiative, it was a very good move that when women and men are get paid according to the work or according to the qualification or according to the outcome they are serving. If Alia Bhatt is serving more to this to that film, she'll be getting paid more, and that was nice of that director, that producer. But what I want to say, basically I want to shed light upon, is basically not everywhere we are facing this. What you said, that obviously when I am getting two resumes, for example, if by God's sake I am being the CEO of some company and I am getting two resumes, one of male and one of female, female is more qualified than the male, definitely I'll not go up to the gender, definitely I'll go up to the qualification. But that, what is the obvious part, what the word you use is obviously will go to. Now come up to the second part. There have been women who face this thing, that this scenario they have face that they are getting paid less to their male counterpart in different scenarios. When they are going for their maternity leave, when they are taking leave to take care of their child, of their family, or they are demarcating their responsibilities equally, they are being suffered by that. In the promotions, they are being suffered by that. And I want to say that it's not with the female only. Maybe the amplitude with the female getting suffered on the pay scale part is higher, but men also are suffering. In the artistic field, in the fashion design field, there have been a male friend of mine who says that this fashion design scenario, people think that fashion design or this particular arrangement or the wedding planning field is of women only. Men are not getting paid equally. So when come up to the payment part, laws are there. Laws are there to protect them, and let's not go to the other part of what society is doing. We need to think that we'll be making and we'll be drafting laws and we'll be trying to make society in this way that people should be getting paid according to the work, according to the qualification they have, not according to the gender, not according to if I'm a male, then I'll be getting paid more. We shouldn't be demarcating people on that basis. This is what I want to submit here. No,
So
nothing.
Mamta, I think
Navendu, I would like to add something. So when we talk about people, supposedly what example you gave, that if a woman is more qualified than the male, definitely the woman is going to be given priority. But where question arises is, what if the male and the female have equal qualification? That is when we get the option to judge. Obviously no company is going to suffer themselves because they want a male employee, so they will not suffer on the qualifications. But what if the qualifications of the male and the female are equal? That is when we have to see that what is their choice. And I will tell you a life example. One of my friend, she's a journalist, and her counter male part is also a journalist. Both of them did law. Both of them did journalism from the same college. Their masters were from different colleges, and both of them had like 1.5 years of experience. They went. They gave the interview. My female friend, she came and told me that so they had a panel discussion, and there was a GD and everything. She could see that she performed really well, but still on the panel there were 5 males and 2 females. Now you see who was given the counter male part was given the position, not my friend. So where you get to judge is, obviously if people have different qualifications, obviously the one who has a better qualification will be given preference. But where you get to judge is, if 2 people have the same qualifications, similar work experience, then who is given preference? Who is given better opportunity? That is where we need to talk about that. It should be based on, that is where we come that qualification. Yeah, rightly Mamta said that it should be based on the qualifications and the work that we deliver, not on the gender. We can't compare at different footings. We have to see comparison at equal footing. Equal footing comes when both of the genders are equally placed, and then we see which is given preference.
Exactly. And then see what Nishi said, when both are at the equal position, then see, if I am evaluating both of them and they are at equal, top by top, and not basically differentiating at any point, then this gender thing come up to the mind of the CEO. Okay, she's a female, घर जाके खाना बनाना होगा शाम को, तो टाइमली निकल जाएगी, अगर लेट वर्क करवाना है वो नहीं हो पाएगा. अभी she'll get married, she'll get what shift she'll get a child, she'll take a maternity leave. अगर miscarriage हो जाता है, then she'll take a leave. All these things come up to the mind of CEO and then shouldn't be there. This is what we want to say.
Yeah, it should be based on the work that she can deliver. Might be she'll get married, might be she'll have time, she will have to deviate her time to her family. But what if she delivers the same work in that less time? It should be based on the result that she's giving. It should be based on the qualification that she has. It should be based on what we can do, not because they can find 10 bahane कि आप तो छुट्टी लोगे because you will have menstrual cycle, आप छुट्टी लोगे because आपकी शादी होगी, आप छुट्टी लोगे because आपका बच्चा होगा, आप छुट्टी लोगे because आपका miscarriage होगा. Not because of all of that. You should see if we can still give the same output.
Exactly.
Thank you, ma'am. Ayush, sir, would you like to speak?
Yeah, so I would just like to make one thing clear before I just put forward my point. I'm an engineering student and I'm just here to learn from all of you. So like I'm not like an expert, to be honest. So like I have a few counterpoints to what all the panelists and our teachers have said, and just like just clarify things for me if that is possible. All right. So like if we are saying that that wage gap exists, right? So like if we think from a perspective, like say you're a businessman, right? So wouldn't you hire all female because you have to pay them less? So like that is like the first point which you can think about it, like because like business are all about generating profits, right? You would not want like to hire just female counterparts just because you have to pay less. Like, and like the second, yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt too abusing to hear that. Wouldn't you hire female employees just because you have to pay less? Who said that we'll be paid less?
No, like
No.
I'm saying like if we consider like like we
Why
have
not?
widespread
This
wage
is.
gap.
I don't think this should be a consideration also. By like, yeah,
Look,
but
like since
I
we are
don't know.
talking
Like,
about
obviously,
since we are talking about wage gap, I'm just taking a hypothetical situation. Since we are talking about wage gap and we are saying that it's prevalent, right? If you think about from a perspective who is hiring you, so wouldn't it be in his profit that he hires all the females just because he has to pay less, hence he will take out more profit from like from the entire thing. So that is what
I'll just ask. Yeah. That's what I just want to say that if this hypothetical situation could come to your mind, that clearly shows that there's a difference.
Exactly.
If we can think that if I am an employer and if I think कि यार मैं सिर्फ female employees को रखता हूँ क्योंकि मुझे उन्हें कम पैसे देने पड़ेंगे, thought ही मेरे दिमाग में आ गया, that means there is a difference.
And that's we need to change.
That is what we need. This thought shouldn't even come in our mind that मैं women's को hire करूँगा, that means I'll have to pay less. This thought itself
wrong.
It just felt.
Yeah, so like this was an argument. This was also put up in another discussion. So I just wanted an opinion from you guys on it.
And I agree to it. Not agree. Basically, I just want to say that if this kind of thought is coming up to the mind of any person that is just for profit, then what kind of businessman that person is, not giving back to anything to the society, and what kind of mentality that person is carrying.
And
yeah, that's true.
And I feel that just alone this thought coming to a person's mind clearly shows that there's a difference in the pay scale. There is a difference in what the employers think of paying a woman and a male. Like that, this clearly shows just by this thought. I don't think it would ever. I don't think that it would have ever striked me. Somebody would agree to hire me because उन्हें लगेगा उन्हें मुझे कम पैसा देना पड़ेगा. मतलब ये thought process is only
yeah, that's true.
Very demeaning and very insulting and humiliating for us.
Yeah, that's true. Like so I just wanted like अगर कोई ऐसा question करे तो like how would you guys respond to it? So my second question is like since you have seen like India is a cultural society, right? We have been the spiritual center of the world per se, and like we have given so much to the world, but like when we employ laws which are at loggerheads by what our culture says, like in the sense like say in the case of Sabrimala, if you have read like what that was all about, and the entire discussion gets maligned by the point that like Hinduism is anti-women, right? So how do you respond to such an argument? Or like, how would you as a lawyer respond to such an argument that like aisa hai?
I would like to start with it. See, the society, the culture, not going to the in-depth religion part. Okay, the society, the culture, the customs are made by the humans. It's what, again, the simple point of patriarchy, what we have come up with. So when for example, if burqa system is there in Muslims, or there's some sort of parda system we had in the past, that was due to the societal scenario at that point of time, but now we don't require that. So any religion particularly, we can't say that that is creating atrocities for the women, or that is suppressing women. No, the laws, not basically the laws, the customs that made at that point of time was a male centric one. Religion is a very big concept. We let's not get into all these concept at this point of time. But what we want to say here is, those things coming up from back of the history, those customs are coming from long time. And if something is suppressing which is not required at this point of time, we need to abolish that. We need transformation. That's why we are talking about transformation, transformative constitutionalism. Our constitution also got developed, also got transformed with the time. And that's what we need. That's why law is dynamic. That's why
Yes,
society
ma'am, I
needs
would
it.
agree with that. I would agree with that. But what if there are proofs to show that the culture of that specific area uh, isn't differentiating on the basis of gender, but like we can show parallels also, that there are temples where men aren't allowed, or there are like temples which are only for transgender. So wouldn't it show diversity in the culture rather than just pointing out one specific temple and like maligning the entire argument like it was done in the
Di-
Sabrimala case?
Diversity, yeah, no, don't, like, not going to the particular temple only. There are have been there have been diversities, there have been the culture. So when see, I those who are law student, and you must also have studied constitution, so you must be knowing this part, that whenever the point of religion come, the even the laws are taking a backhand. Why? Because they also respect the religion part, they also respect the cultural part of the society. But when things go at par, when things go onto a long atrocities, we need to abolish that as well. So the scenarios where in a temple where only women are allowed, only men are allowed, by the time they are comfortable with it, we don't have an issue. But at once, if I want to enter some temple, I want to worship that particular god, and someone is stopping me just because of my gender, then I need to revolt against that. This is what I want to say.
Yes,
Kartik
ma'am,
sir, would
I
you
would
like to
agree
add
with
on
that.
to this?
Coming to your point that Hindu religion is an anti-woman religion. First of all, it is not an anti-woman religion because we worship goddesses Durga and various other goddesses. And coming to the point that the women's are being just a second, that the women are being affected by because of the society. Just a second.
Devyani, what happened?
I think there is a problem with Kartik sir's internet connection.
Okay, okay.
Nishi ma'am, would you like to speak on this for a while?
Yeah. So I kind of agree with what Mamta said, because I think saying that Hinduism is, or Hindu religion is anti-woman is, I don't think it's correct. It's, like, I don't know, like, it's very, very bad to, it doesn't feel nice to hear that
Yes,
also.
Vaibhav, like I agree with you. Sorry, like I cannot see your real name here. Like what I'm trying to say is that the argument is being maligned in that way. So what are
Yeah.
like the ways in which we can actually develop a fruitful conversation rather than maligning the entire community in this way? Like you would have seen the rising Hinduphobia in the foreign universities, especially like with recent cases in Oxford, which is going on, and then Rutgers University, which is happening right now. So how we as individuals can, like change the course of the argument and uh, like, uh, like, and make sure that like that the laws aren't at loggerheads with what our culture says and what the customs of that area is, like even when it is proved that they aren't anti-women and they aren't against some gender.
Yeah. So see, all the customs and traditions and everything is made by us humans. Primarily in India, made by the male counterparts of ours, the male patriarchy society. So all the customs and all the traditions are, made according to the perception a human, has. And it doesn't say anything. I don't think that customs and traditions say about what it really is. It says about what the perspective of the society is. Our society or our male counterparts feel that we as women are not, like, we're not, that the Hinduism religion is not for us, that that it's anti-woman. It's made by them. What needs to change is our perspective to look at things. All these customs, and like with changing laws, as per the times and as per the needs, we need to change the perspective of the people, how they relate or how they connect women and Hinduism.
And
There
Ayush,
has
next
to.
one. Yes, you complete.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, and Ayush, next time anyone give you this kind of malicious argument that just because of particular incident, that particular religion is wrong, anyone being the extreme leftist or extreme rightist, just like what I give the people this reply, basically, enhance your knowledge, read about it, then talk about it. Don't go by the Instagram post what you are seeing.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree with you. And like, I would not like to stress this further, but like, just
Yeah.
put one final point forward. It's like, as we see in the case of Sabrimala, like I'm talking specifically about that case because that is a like really important case and it has been highlighted a lot in national and international media. So like the women of Kerala or the devotees of the Lord Ayappa who is sitting in Sabrimala, all the women there started an online campaign saying ready to wait. It was one of the biggest online campaigns only and by and for women. And even the judge which had decided on this specific case, out of the out of the 4 or 5
Everyone was
panelists,
Hindu Malhotra.
only one was lady, and she even voted that women should wait before entering that temple. So
Yeah.
why is it that like just to conform to the foreign idea of feminism, like we are giving away our traditional elements and our traditional uniqueness just to fit in that feminism idea? And like do you feel that we should have laws which are more Indic in nature, which are more true to our culture? What would you say?
Now coming up to your point, again, very well you mentioned, Justice Indu Malhotra, while giving the judgment of Sabrimala, dissented to it. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
because she dissented, because she was not agreeing to the concept, which was like her basically two other justices were taking up that point of time. So it differs from the person to person. Maybe I personally might not agree to the Sabrimala judgment. What this is a scenario I'm giving to you. Maybe I am not also the person who thinks that culture should be protected. It's kind of a tussle, or it's kind of basic what you can say, a revolt going on between the two significant topics. It's not about being feminist or something. It's all about the rights and the culture. And the constitution is all about the rights and the culture. When we go up to the fundamental part of the constitution, chapter 3 of the constitution, it's talk about major part of it talk about the rights of the fundamental rights. Basically, part 3 is all about fundamental rights, and there the person also have the cultural and the religious rights plus the right of equality. So we need to balance that. There have been different judgment who are dissenting to Sabrimala, who are agreeing to the Sabrimala. So this will evolve by the time, and different set of mindset can be there. If you think on personal basis that Western feminism is getting adopted, and then we have incorporated the judgment of Sabrimala, maybe your point might be correct. And that's why we need the dissenting judgment also. That's why we need to read about the logics and the arguments or the reasoning given by Justice Indu Malhotra. She's one of the learned judges of the Supreme Court, and if she dissented to that particular thing, there might be some reason of it. So we need to consider both part of it. And personally, I just don't want to stretch this topic as well. Sabrimala is one of its own kind of judgment. It doesn't apply to every temple. Still, there have been like many temples where women are not allowed. There have been temples where men are not allowed. And see, by the time it's all about the cultural part, by the time it's all about the religion part, totally fine with it. But when it comes to the rights, when it comes to the atrocities, then we need to speak up. This is all I want to submit. I am not saying law is always perfect. Might be. This is just a scenario I am giving you. I am not like, I am just refraining from giving any kind of big statement, but there might be a scenario that Sabrimala judgment is not correct at this point of time. Maybe some other judgment, some other day, dissent to that judgment and lay down a good reasoning on the perspective of Sabrimala. That's what happened in the ADM Jabalpur case of emergency one, when all the 5 learned judges. I'll tell you, Ayush, a very good point here, and might be other people who might be interested. I'll take a 2-minute extension, and I'll need to take you back to the constitution part. In 1970s, when the emergency was going on in the regime of Indira Gandhi government, there was a case of ADM Jabalpur. And in ADM Jabalpur, the constitution bench was there. And in the constitution, those who are law students who know how big the constitution bench matters to the person, particular case. And in that ADM Jabalpur case, all the learned judges who were there in the constitutional bench part, they said that, okay, it's fine to curtail your rights at the time of emergency. And there was a judge, Justice H.R. Khanna. At that point of time, Justice Bhagwati, Justice Krishna Iyer, those who were considered the epitome of the legal system, they given this judgment, they that rights of the curtailing the rights of the fundamental rights of the citizens at the time of emergency is okay. But there was one more judge who was not as famous as other justices, giving the dissenting judgment, and Justice H.R. Khanna says that my conscience don't agree to that point. And my conscience says that, no, you cannot curtail the fundamental rights at any point in the time, be it the emergency. Fundamental rights are basic to a human. And that judgment got basically a praise. Basically, the majority part won that point of time, and the dissenting judgment was not considered at that point of time, and considered as the curtailing of fundamental rights of the people at the time of emergency is okay, was considered. But lately, ADM Jabalpur case, when people read about it lately, they realized that 4 other judges were not at the correct reasoning, where at Justice H.R. Khanna's reasoning, who was the dissenting one at that point of time, was considered a way better than that. And that's the law right now, that you cannot curtail the fundamental right of the citizens at the time of emergency as well. Why I gave you a totally different point here is basically I want to say that don't go by one single judgment of the Sabrimala. What the judges said, it's not patthar ki laki. It can be dissented, it can be changed with the time. And there's a tussle going on. People need to give reasoning to it. Society need to decide it. And whenever reading all the law students, whenever reading any judgment, go by reading the dissenting part as well. Consider the point of Justice Indu Malhotra. I, on personal front, I totally agree to the point of given by Justice Indu Malhotra in that judgment. So it's not about taking Western part or something. Let's complete it here only. It's differs from person to person, but Supreme Court gave reasoning at that point of time, taking upon some particular scenarios of Sabrimala, and that's what we are following at this point of time. I think that suffices your
Thank you
question,
so much.
Ayush.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving your insightful opinion, ma'am. I would like to thank Mamta ma'am, Karthik sir, Nishi ma'am, Vijay ma'am, and Prapreet sir for giving their opinions today. I would ask Avdesh to present a vote of thanks.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored and lucky to have the opportunity to give a vote of thanks on this special day. On behalf of Lexological Club, Manipal University, Jaipur, I, Avdesh Parikh, extend a hearty vote of thanks to a guest, Nishi ma'am, Karthik sir, and Mamta ma'am, and also Dr. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, Head of Department, School of Law, Manipal University, Jaipur, who spared time from their busy schedule to grace us with their presence. Sir, ma'am, we all would like to acknowledge our gratitude to you for gracing your important ideas and sharing your opinions today with all of us. We are all inspired by your great words. I am positive that this will surely encourage us in our future endeavors. I hope the words of wisdom imparted by our guest will prove to be informative and insightful for all attendees. Special mention to Mr. Vaibhav Srivastava and Ms. Adya Chandra for supervising and guiding me through this discussion. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated students. It's not possible to thank everyone for such an appreciating involvement and the willingness they have expressed to make this discussion a success. Last but not least, we thank you all for being with us this afternoon. It's been a great pleasure. Have a nice day and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, one and all. And it is really wonderful session. And I hope, I wish all of you, Miss Nishi, Miss Mamta, and Mr. Karthik, whenever it will be required, you will always be with us.
For sure, ma'am.
Maybe
Yes,
online,
ma'am.
offline.
It will be our
Yes.
pleasure.
Ma'am,
So
your
thank you so
statement is the
much.
command, and we
Oh.
can't deny it from that command
Oh
anytime.
my God, ममता, but आज मैं तुम्हें एक बात बता दूं, ये 2 घंटे कैसे निकल गए मुझे पता नहीं चला. So it was indeed a very great success of this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am,
God
for having
bless
us.
Thank you,
all.
ma'am.
God bless you all. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Prapreet sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks.